Welcome back, everybody, to our second series of webinars here at Larson-Juhl. So for anyone who is new to our webinar series this time round, then I'm Matt George. I'm the Sales Director here at Larson-Juhl, and along with help from many of you in the framing community, we want to bring you a few more webinars to share some more ideas for you. And, to bring you some knowledge and help us all plan for the unknown and a new normal as the lockdown restrictions start to ease. I'd just like to start by saying a big thanks to those of you who completed the survey on your plans to open. We know that many of you are getting ready to reopen, and so Ready to Restart is our theme for this series of webinars. All of us have found this, I guess, an incredibly challenging time, planning for what our new normal will look like, thinking about starting to get back to business whilst juggling the demands of homeschooling. And that's certainly been a challenge for all of us, and it's been a challenge for myself as well. I've got 3 children here at home, and Eloise, my eldest, who is in her GCSE year, she doesn't really know whether to be delighted because at the prospect of not having to do those dreaded exams, with that little part of her as well who's still a bit upset about all the work she's put in over the last few years. So for her, it's very much been mixed emotions. My youngest, Oscar, is 8, and he doesn't quite have the same sort of motivation levels. And I guess after all, when it's, mum and dad, and it's mainly mum trying to be the teacher, then Mrs. George doesn't really have the authority of his teachers at school. So, that's a bit of a challenge in itself as well. And then I've also got our creative middle child, Olivia, who's 12, and she's done some fantastic homeschooling projects. She actually spent a whole afternoon upcycling her skateboard last week. So she painted it all, and then she put lots of different colours on it. Very creative and busying herself doing that. So, there's lots of different ways and challenges and ways that the children have been finding to do things. I want to thank everybody who joined us for the first series of webinars, whether you did it live and joined us at the time, or also whether you did it afterwards and viewed the webinars from our website. We're going to include these webinars again on the website, and I've spoken and had feedback from many of you that that's a really useful way for you to be able to view the webinars in your own time. So thank you for joining live, those of you that are on here live, and that gives you the opportunity to ask questions and interact with us, and we will try and get a little bit more interactive this time. I've had a little feedback about that. But as with the last set of webinars, we will include details on our website as well, so that you can use them afterwards, and you can also view the presentations as well. So the last set of webinars that we did for you, we had Manny from the United States talking about going digital and ideas to grow your online business. John Price did a framing masterclass with some technical advice. And then Joe Palmer and myself talked about selling tips in selling from the design bench. We had Graham Perryman, who was discussing his ideas for helping to create your USP, your unique selling proposition. And then finally, I had our accountants at MHA who shared their financial advice around job retention scheme and some of the other initiatives that will help you as you're thinking about getting back to business. All of them are available on our website, as I said, and they are all available on our YouTube channel as well. So if you check out our YouTube channel, 4 Walls YouTube, then they're available there as well. I did have some questions from some people who were struggling to get connection to the webinar online, and I directed them via their iPad to our YouTube channel. So check them out on there as well. Thank you also for completing our survey, where we asked you to let us know what you think about our website, social media, emails, and the webinars as well. So lots of you provided us with that feedback. A big thank you from me for those of you that took the time to do that. It really does help us make sure that we're doing the right thing when we're providing you, services and webinars like this, but it also helps us with ideas around our website and other areas where we try and sort of interact with you to make sure that we can provide you as good a customer service as we can do. That's really important for us. We want to listen to you, and we want to be able to try and change and do things for the better where you think there's better ways of doing things. The webinar feedback was very positive. So I guess all of us are different personally, and one of the things that I really love about our industry is how diverse it is. There are so many different types of framers out there, and lots of different ways that you go about doing your businesses. And I think that's a really lovely thing about the industry that we work in, and that I've joined, and that you all do out there. It's a fantastic industry to be in. But with that means that we all have different things that we like from the webinars that were provided, and that was one of the reasons why we decided to do a blend of different things across the 5 webinars. And it was interesting that depending on the people and what you want to see, then you like some webinars more than others, and that's perfectly understandable. But what the feedback does is it's helped us plan a little bit for these webinars this time, where we've got a mini series of 3 that we're going to provide with you. So as I said, thanks again for providing that feedback. Every webinar did have positive scores. Yeah, as I said, you all did find different ones more interesting and more relevant depending on your situation. And we hope that with the 3 that we've got here, we've got design trends, then we're going to have technical skills, and then some practical advice as well on opening up again from Joe Palmer, that they will provide you with the information that you need to help you get back to a bit more of normality and think about opening up again. For many of you thinking about that next week, and I know that will be delayed now to the 15th of June for lots of you. There are different ways of running these webinar sessions, and I know from the feedback that I've had from lots of you that there are different views over what works best. It is difficult to make them interactive, but we will try and do that and introduce a few more interactive features around it. So we'll see how that goes, and you can kind of learn with us as we go through it, trying to kind of open it up to you and make it a little bit more interactive. So we'll have some new features that I'll explain shortly. You can give them a try, and we will do together, and we'll see if that helps. One of the reasons that we have created PowerPoint slides is to try and provide you with some reference material afterwards. Either if you're watching the videos live, or even if you're watching them afterwards on the website, we wanted to try and provide you with something that you've got to go back and reference to help you. I know it can be difficult sometimes with lots of information that's being conveyed to you to pick out the most important bits for you, and everybody takes different bits from different sessions. So it's one of the reasons that we decided to do the PowerPoints for you to refer back to, and we'll do that as well during these ones, but we might swap a little bit between sort of PowerPoint and then live, and give you an opportunity to see our faces a little bit more as we go through the sessions. Providing the PowerPoint slides as well, that also enables us to provide CPD points to help you towards your Guild Certified Framer certificate, for those of you that are working towards that qualification. So we will be doing that again and providing that again, and you'll get 2 points for each webinar. You'll receive some feedback afterwards, and then provide that back, and then you can get a couple of points towards your CPD points. So we're going to do that again, and thanks to the guys at the Fine Art Trade Guild for helping us to enable that to happen. Now, just before talking you through what we're going to do, I wanted to just reference a little bit more about the email communication that we sent out this week, as we start to prepare a little bit for life in the new normal. So I guess, all of us have been going through this, and it has been challenging, and we've been having to adapt. And part of the reason why we're here today doing a webinar, we need to try and change things, and we're all kind of getting used to the video calling friends and family, playing Zoom quizzes, getting used to keeping in touch this way. And there's a few things that we plan to do to help try and develop that a little bit more with you. So these webinars, we've got the second series that we'll do for you, provide you some advice around different topics to help you to think about what you're doing from a framing perspective. Second point as well is then about 4 walls. So we will be moving to a digital platform in July. We're going to use a platform called Izu. For those of you that have used it, some of you may have done. If you haven't, it is very easy to use, and it actually works like an interactive magazine where you flick the pages through. What it also does as well is it enables you to drill down into information on articles that you find interesting, so you can see a little bit more about that particular article. Very easy to use, much safer than having to print. There's much less print then, which you need to touch with COVID and with thinking about getting back to normal. It's better for the environment. And the vast majority of you said that you used the PDF digital format in a previous survey. So this will be a more enhanced version of that and better and easier to use. So we're planning at the moment to do that for our next issue of Four Walls, which will be out in July. The third thing from me just to talk about is virtual roundtables. So we will have more details coming soon. We've got Joe and the team at the Fine Art Trade Guild who are going to be partnering with us and running those sessions. And we're going to try and replicate what we had planned to do face-to-face in Belfast, Glasgow and in Birmingham. But we're going to do it interactively. We want to create, sessions where we can get you off of just listening to us. We can get your video up and we can share and discuss ideas in smaller groups where we can try and replicate that face-to-face thing over on video technology. So watch this space. There will be more details around that coming soon on our virtual roundtable plans for next month. Fourth point is that many of you have had digital statements and invoices in the past. Now, that again will become standard practice. I think COVID-19 and what's happened here has kind of made us do that a little bit quicker and accelerate that rollout of that. But we'll be doing that as well, and I think that will benefit everybody. So again, more news to follow on that. And then the fifth thing as well, as we get back to normal and also when the sales team start to return, then we want to be responsible. We want to allow you to prioritise your customers for face-to-face meetings. We want to provide access as well in a smaller environment for face-to-face meetings that can occur on these sorts of platforms. Doing it via video link, we think that will be a good and an appropriate and safe way to communicate with you, and also be encouraging and rolling out smaller sessions within territories where we can get some working sessions with you on video conference where we can talk and share ideas. So I think that will be beneficial as well for you. Okay, so just before I run through a couple of slides to remind you of a few things and a few things that we've changed in terms of Zoom. We're going to go and have a little go at a poll to see if we can make this a little bit more interactive. So you should get a polling question come up on your screens shortly, and then I will give you a little bit of time to answer that. So it should be fairly straightforward. Okay, so if you have a look on your screen, then I've just launched a polling question. You should be able to vote against that on your screen. I can see some of you starting to do it now. That's it, getting the hang of it. So if you it's a very simple process. I'll allow a little bit more time for those of you. We've got most of you doing it now. There's a few still to catch up. I'll let you have a little bit more time to do it. Okay, so we've got most people have done that. I'm going to end polling and then I'm going to share the results with you. So you should be seeing those results now. So bank holiday weekend, 45% of you very relaxing, out in the garden, and one too many drinks for the 9th weekend in a row. So it's certainly in the new normal that we're finding ourselves at the moment. I'm sure there's lots of you who were planning to do that and done that over the weekend. Quite a few of you, and I've spoken to a lot of you as well, getting ready for business. And I know we had the announcement that come last night from the government around the 15th of June and the new date, that extension from the 1st of June for non-essential businesses. But I know that lots of you are getting ready for getting back to business, thinking about your showrooms, thinking about the mouldings and what you need to do. And obviously Joe will cover a session to help you around some techniques there. A couple of you have been watching too much Netflix and kids driving a bit mad. I certainly can understand that. And a few of you might have had a bit of damage from wind. I certainly did. And yeah, sorry, I can't meet everybody. There's lots of different regions that you're calling in for, so you probably had different weather depending on where you are, but you know, an interesting set of results as well. So thank you for doing that, and bit of a test there just to see whether that works or not. So what I am going to do now is just run through a couple of slides just to share with you the plan for the next set of webinars that we've got. So, as I said, in terms of Zoom, we want to start trying to get a bit more interactive. So, we will be getting a bit more interactive. The Design Trends webinar is today. That's coming up very shortly. So I did just have a question been asked there. Yeah, Alice is taking over from me in a second. So we are going to be a bit more interactive today. Everyone will be muted when they enter the meeting, but chat away if you like during the webinar. The chat facility is enabled. You can use the Q&A to ask questions. So just like last time, and I've just seen a couple that I was trying to just field coming in. Yes, the Design Trends webinar is coming. If you do want to ask a question live later on, then feel free. I've enabled, you can raise your hand, so that facility is there. And we are happy at the end of this to bring you onto video conference, ask your question live, and we'll do our best between myself and Alice to answer it. Or if not, then I've also got Steve Burke, who many of you will know, that may be able to try and help answer your question live. And if we can't, then we would get back to you afterwards. So this is the plan for the next 3 sessions we've got. I'm going to hand over to Alice very shortly, who can talk you through the design trends. Then tomorrow will be another masterclass from, tomorrow will be about from Joe, reopening your framing business. So we've got Joe Palmer joining us tomorrow to talk about that. And then on Thursday, we've got another framing masterclass from John Price, all 3 till 4 p.m. and all of them will be recorded and uploaded to the website. There are the CPD points available for you for afterwards as well. Okay, so I'm going to hand you over in 1 second to Joe. Before I do that, I just want to do one more poll if I can do that. So one quick poll on design trends before we hand over to Joe, and then she'll take you through that. So just got one more question for you on design trends before we start the design trends session. Okay, so I'll allow another few seconds or so. I think we've got most people have voted now. Okay, right, let's end that one and then we'll share the results of the polling. So 38% of you saying all the time, I love checking out what's new depending on season, taste or fashion. 58% of you saying now and again, it is challenging to keep on top of that whilst running the business. Completely understand that. And 5% of you, a couple who said hardly at all, there just isn't time. So a little bit of food for thought there for Alice as I hand over to her. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen now and then I'll hand over to you, Alice, to pick up the reins.
Thank you so much, Matt. Thank you so much for having me here today and to invite me to speak about trends. So I just wanted to tell everybody a little bit about myself first. So I've worked for the last 15 years as a contemporary furniture designer. My specialism is in upholstered seating for the contract sector, specifically for hospitality. I'm also the editor for online design magazine, Design Insider. Design Insider brings news and trends from the contract furnishing sector, and you are more than welcome to take a look at designinsiderlive.com and see what inspiration there is for you there. I'm really proud over the last 2 years to have been invited actually several times to write about trends for your Four Walls magazine. And very much look forward to seeing the new digital edition, which I know Matt and his team are working on. Within this brief webinar, I'm going to actually look at 3 trends with you. And for each trend, we're going to have a little look at the inspiration behind it and some examples. And then we're going to look at some mouldings and mounts that are easily used to bring that trend to life with your customers. And to do that, I've got some slides for each trend, but I'll be coming back to talk to you in a little bit more detail between each trend. So I'm just going to share my screen with you. Here we go. And so here you are able to see the first slides. Oh gosh. There we go. So the first trend that I'm going to introduce is a trend about sustainability. This is an image called Terraza Alta by Abel Rodriguez. And the reason why I've really included it within the webinar is there is an enormous trend for eco art. I took this example from a recent article in World of Interiors, but I'm sure that when you have visited design-led events over the last year, you will have seen that designated areas that look at sustainability, and they might have looked at product miles, they might have looked at production methods, obviously recycling, and really importantly, the material selection. So the thing that I'd like to start off with is that it's really important to understand the sustainable credentials of the products that you sell, and consider sustainability across your business, which I'm sure that a lot of people are busy doing. Larson-Juhl have a wide selection of FSC mouldings, which hopefully you've had a chance to see and also learn a little bit about from their website. For those that weren't so clear, FFC stands for Forest Stewardship Council, and it's a certification from the non-profit organisation that enables buyers to know that that timber is from forests that have been from responsible forestry. So it's really important to look out for that logo, and it's really important to be able to talk to your customers about the fact that the timber within the product is sustainable and reflects sustainable credentials. It might be that sustainable design could take any form, but what you can see from these 2 examples that I've shown here is that often there's an ongoing trend to reflect sustainable design through the use of natural materials and a natural neutral colour palette. So you can see natural timbers used for tabletops, but then added texture into the interior scheme with rattan and wicker, and a lot of natural finishes, waxes and oils rather than lacquers. As you can see, the sustainable trend is often balanced with crisp white paintwork. This really creates a contemporary scheme. Again, black accessories are really often used to add depth to the scheme. They really add the sort of punctuation to the colour palette and tie it all together. Biophilic accents regularly take pride of place in these sustainable schemes. So biophilic design is where a designer will select materials that are natural and that link our living environments with a natural environment. And there's considerable research into how having biophilic design within homes and workspaces, and increasingly in hospitality spaces, it can really increase the user's well-being. So natural materials are key to this sustainable scheme, but with the very literal inclusion of plants within each space. The plants themselves offer an opportunity to slightly widen the colour palette of the sustainable scheme. So where we talked a minute ago about neutrals and natural colours, you've got that opportunity to bring in these greens from really, really deep, almost like a black green, right through into sort of quite vibrant grass greens. And that in itself, the green colour palette has been a real colour trend within itself. So a really good extension of the sustainable trend. Now this is just a little overview of some of the mouldings that really represent this trend well. I'm just going to come out of sharing the screen because I've actually got those samples here with me today, and I can hold them up and we can talk about them in a little bit more detail. Right, so the first sample that I've chosen to talk to you about today is the barefaced ash moulding. Ash is a beautiful timber and it fits in a lot of schemes. Really nice to pick something as an alternative to oak. The reason why I have picked this particular moulding to show you today is, I'm just trying to show you as clearly as I can, is that chamfer on the outside edge and the detailing on the inside edge. It just gives a shape that is different from a very square edge, which a lot of the samples I've got here today are. So the other thing that's really versatile about this ash moulding is that you've got the choice of finish that you can put on it. This would take a wax finish really nicely and give that different texture. But also it could potentially be stained in a neutral tone and you could bring in maybe some of that green colour palette through the use of the ash moulding. The second moulding that I want to show you today is the driftwood moulding. This is really, really versatile because it does several things at the same time. It's got the natural timber look to it and a natural timber feel, which is key to the sustainability, but it directly links a sort of more contemporary finish into the space. So you wouldn't want to create an interior scheme where every surface was a different timber or indeed timber. So being able to have this white finish where you get the texture and the grain, but you get the white contemporary finish, it makes it really very versatile. The third moulding that I've selected to show you today for this trend is the touchwood art moulding, and I've chosen it in a walnut. I think that this is a great example of how you can make a sustainable scheme really sophisticated. So you've got the natural timber, you've got the biophilic element, you've got the sustainable ethos, but you've got a really crisp edge and you've got the quality that you can see with the walnut species finish. So that's a great way to really elevate the sustainable scheme. Now, as you will know, selecting the mount very much depends on the artwork that you are framing. But one of the mounts that Larson-Juhl has, which is the linen mount, which comes in several neutral colours and a white, is ideal to bring more texture into the framing, into the scheme. It just gives that another level of detail. So that's one really to sort of think about how you can marry that linen mount with some of these natural finishes. Right, 1 second. So I can absolutely give the reference numbers to these mouldings. That's just popped up on the question. So I'm just going to return to my slides and I'll just give you one more moment to have a look at the code numbers that go with each of those mouldings. There we go. So these are the references for the 3 mouldings that we just talked about and the linen mount. Hopefully there's time there for everybody to have made a note of that, and if not, I can always give them out again at the end. Now, our next trend is great fun. It's the yellow and pink trend. Now, this is a trend that was becoming established before the coronavirus, before lockdown and the shake-up that everybody's had. And I personally think it really brings a really welcome, cheery palette at a time where a lot of people have had very challenging or difficult experiences. So this trend really, it brings a smile to your face, and it just counteracts a little bit of how people are feeling at the moment, or potentially some people are feeling. The thing that I'd like to point out about the yellow and pink colour scheme is that it is much more versatile than you might first think. And that really depends on the depth of colour that you choose. And as you might see in these 2 images, where your focus lies. I mean, is your primary colour the yellow, supported by the pink, or is your primary colour the pink, boosted by the yellow? Here's a great example of where multiple tones of the palette have all been used together. So you've got the pale pink, which is married with a much deeper pink. And then those 2 pink tones are offset by the bright yellow in the sofa, but then also a softer yellow that you can see in the jugs and the accessories at the back of the image. So you're really layering the tones within the same colour palette. This trend within an interior scheme is also a really great opportunity to introduce texture, and the perfect vehicle for the long-standing velvet trend. I don't think velvet is going anywhere, so this designer has really made the most out of that and used this really golden yellow in the velvet for their feature sofa. As we're now all moving from spring into summer, and gosh, great weather that we're having at the moment, it's perfect to really embrace this happy trend and to catch people's attention. Ideal for businesses, you know, reopening and welcoming people in or past your store. This is a real eye-catching, cheery trend to use. As the mood board image shows, this colour palette can be used across every aspect of the trend. So, you know, we'll see it in the soft furnishings, we'll see it in the upholstery, we'll see it in the timber work and the accessories. So really, really versatile. And I particularly like how it works with the bold typography artwork print now. So just give you a chance to look firstly at the information here, but again, I can always bring this slide back again at the end, but I've got a few mouldings and mounts to take you through. So again, I'm just going to stop the sharing. There we go. And I'm going to start by showing you the Harlequin moulding, which is this one here. Which is a really great pink. It's not too pink. This is really eases you into the trend. It's almost a grey pink, and it's really soft. This is ideal to marry with quite a crisp white mount, something that really allows that pink to come out a little bit and be a little bit more visible, or with a pale pink mount that's the same colour tone to the moulding. That's going to create a really fantastic larger colour block of the soft pink and just give a real contemporary attention to detail finish where the mount and the moulding have an exact colour match. Yep, sorry, just checking I've got the right one next. Now, in stark contrast, the second moulding that I've got to show you, which is a deep square section moulding, is the Artcore moulding in, as you can tell, this really very vibrant pink. So again, you've got two options of how you can integrate this trend within the, this moulding within the pink and yellow trend. You can either have an alternative tone pink mount, or you can be really brave and marry your pink moulding with a yellow mount. Really versatile, really bold. Will depend a little bit on the artwork that you're framing, but a great choice. So the third moulding that I have to show today is an aluminium moulding, and it's the Jolly Pop Yellow. Now, what I really like about this particular moulding is that you've got a great depth, but you've actually got quite a slim finish on the surface. So you can go for this really bold colour, but actually it's a little bit more subtle because you've got that thin edge on the surface. So a statement colour, but the slim scale gives it that elegance and, you know, tones it down a little bit, makes it really appropriate for lots of settings. However, if you're brave enough for the colour, but you want to be bolder, the final sample in this trend that I've got to show you is the Vogue moulding. This is fantastic. This is such a bold, sunny colour. I don't know if my webcam can pick this up really nicely, but you've also got fantastic grain and detailing within. So it's not that really solid block colour that we had with the pink. This one, it's got much more depth to it because you're seeing those flecks in the grain. Also, if I can try and show you the profile, you've also got this attention to detail here, which really brings the whole thing together. I love this. I'd have this at home. Now, with the mount options, there are many. You can marry any of the pink and yellow mouldings with a neutral or white mount, and that will give a good contrast in colour between the coloured moulding and the mount. But what you can also do is you could, like I said earlier, increase the colour block by having a coloured mount with that coloured moulding and really being really bold with that, or creating the same look but softening it by using those pale pinks together and really create something really striking. Now I will put that slide back up just so that you can see those codes again before we move on to the final trend. There we go. So it's slightly left field, the final trend that I've got for you today. After 10 weeks of being in, we have all developed new habits. And I think many of you will have found that one of the things that we've created new habits with is how we shop. And so we've found new places to buy from, and we've changed how we buy from some of our favourite or, you know, shops that we're really used to shopping from. Now, as the lockdown eases, this in itself will be a trend which will evolve. So I live in Chichester on the south coast, and in my local area, many of the businesses have evolved the offer for their customers, and they've adapted, and they're now offering a delivery service that they didn't offer before. It's been fantastic. We've had veg boxes, we've had baked goods, dried foods, fantastic cinnamon swirls, all delivered to our door across the over these last weeks, and I'm sure for many of you it's been the same in the area that you live in. And what you may ask is, how this shopping local, what has that really got to do with an interior trend? Well, by having the strongest, best possible offering for your customers, you'll enable them to follow any of the trends that they're interested in. And in doing so, you'll be able to retain the long-standing customers, as well as cement the relationships with the new customers that are looking to shop from your businesses to shop local. This trend was supported recently by Mary Portas in The Guardian, where she was really saying that she felt that our new relationships with our local retailers were here to stay, and that these relationships were the ones that would survive. The Queen of Shops spoke passionately about that this is the time to find new ways to reach out and retain a local customer base. And this is Chichester. This is our high street. It doesn't look like this right now. But I know from the research that I've done and being part of the community on social media and with businesses that I work with, that the community is really ready and waiting for these businesses to open, and so that they can support them. But they need those businesses to have what they're looking for and be able to answer their needs with those trends when it's related to interiors. So there are two mouldings which I wanted to just talk to you about, and this is the information, but again, I'll just stop the sharing and I'll be able to show you the samples. There we go. So the first one is a new Larson-Juhl moulding. Hard to see, I'm afraid. I'll try and show it so you can see the texture. Oh, there we go. There we are. So this is the Coastal Woods moulding. It's new. And the thing that's fantastic about this moulding is that it fits so well into the trends that we've already spoken about today. Again, the fact that it's got that timber texture and the biophilic nature of it means that it's going to fit really nicely into the sustainable trend. The white is going to make sure you've got that contemporary edge to it, but also the ideal vehicle for marrying with a pink or a yellow mount and really setting off that sunny, vibrant, joyful artwork. So a really versatile option there. The second new moulding to look at today is this one, and I just want to show you, because what I particularly like about this one is the depth in comparison to that narrow width. This is one of the Microtech veneers. So again, fitting perfectly into that sustainable trend where you've got the timber, very similar in concept and trend results to the one that we talked about earlier, the Touchwood one. And again, you know, marry this warm, natural timber with one of those soft pinks or with the really vibrant yellows to add a different finish to the pink and yellow trend. So two new mouldings which enable your local customer to come in and answer their interior trend brief whilst they're looking to support those local businesses and to shop local. One last slide. So this is the slide that we've just looked at for those interested in the product codes. I really very much hope that everybody has enjoyed hearing about these three trends, and between them I really feel that they include new ways to approach your customers, fantastic talking points, and a colour scheme that will put a smile on your face. If there's any questions that you've got about the trends, then please feel free to use that Zoom Q&A function that Matt was talking about, and I'll do my best to answer. So I think now it's time to pass you back over to Matt. Are you there?
I'm here.
Hi.
Thank you, Alice. That was fantastic. Thanks a lot.
No problem.
So I think, you know, really nice to see you, you know, linking into some of the latest trends at the moment that we've got, and then, you know, linking nicely into some of our new range of mouldings, the Italian veneers, linking into some of the mouldings that have been around a little bit longer, and to give people a little bit of food for thought and some ideas around design trends and what they can do. I've just, I guess, to reinforce what you said earlier on, one of the reasons we did do the presentation is that we will put it on the website afterwards. Yeah. So if anybody was frantically scribbling down code, no, that's all right, then we will share it afterwards, so everybody's got a reference point to link back to into those mouldings. So we will definitely do that. So listen, thanks a lot. We've got a couple more questions that I will just sort of field, and I might just invite Steve in a minute as well with a bit more expertise than me to help to field some of them as well. But I also just wanted to pick up on just some of the design trends that were mentioned there and some of the mouldings as well. I think it's a great choice of mouldings and the range across which you recommended. Lots of different ones to go for there. I think probably the one in addition to add to that I know a lot of our customers use and is incredibly popular is confetti, which comes in a variety of different colours. So you get the opportunity with confetti to shop through the colour range. You can be as bold as you like with confetti. You have different depths of profile as well. And it's probably, we thought that we would put in an option there of an art core moulding just for something different to think about. But certainly for those who only use sort of wood profiles, then I think the confetti range and the pink in that and some of the other colours is a very good complement to what
I think if you were choosing a bold colour to frame multiple pieces within the same interior scheme, what's fantastic about confetti is you could pick the different frame widths but in the same colour and use them for the different pieces of artwork, and it would just add an extra level of interest while still tying everything together. So the confetti collection, if you use multiple of the choices, will work really well.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I'm going to invite Steve in now as well. If you do want to unmute and come onto video, Steve. So I guess I've got sort of 5 months experience in Larson-Juhl. Steve has a couple more months than me, I think.
A few more months, but not many.
Knows a lot of you well. So.
Good, thank you. Thank you, Alice. I think the question you're asking about is the ash. Questions come up. There's actually such a wide range of grain and colour, which becomes an issue if you're looking for colour or looking through NO. Well, I've lost the track on that one, but I'm guessing it's all about the grain. Yep, absolutely right. Ash does come in a number of grained finishes, a number of grained textures. They do vary. But most customers, if they've used a chevron using 2 separate pieces of the grain, can show that their customers, the client, this is a natural wood. This is how it's finished. This is how it comes. Some do a lot of staining as well to make them both sides black, and that change can give a really good finish. Other customers of ours in the past have been happy to look for substitute ash to keep it very clean and very similar, so it's more exacting. And the Touchwood range has a full range of ash veneers. So as Alice says, using that Touchwood range, you can match up and give a very, very nice finish for the client. So the choice is yours. Either the grain to show it's a natural wood, some staining to bring it down to just black or just white, but giving the grain effect, or there's the Touchwood range, which I think there's about 8 profiles of ash available. Hopefully that's answered it.
Cool. Thank you, Steve. That's very helpful. Got one here as well that you might be able to help with, and I guess Alice might have a view as well, but do you feel that flat contemporary mouldings are still current?
For me, I see a lot of interior design companies around the world that use a flat profile because they fear anything else. If you're too bold in your artwork, and there was a comment earlier about the lack of artwork in the presentation that Alice did, not in the sense that you should have had any up there, because we would have all been looking at the artwork and not the concept. So totally understand that, but it's always the safe option. More bold and confident interior design companies that do go for something much more much more outside a comfortable area. So yeah, I think it's here to stay. There'll always be contemporary, there'll always be flat and square edged, but I think as we move into the next maybe 10 years, it will transverse back into a more decorative part of an interior design. At the moment, like I can see in your place, Matt, it's natural wood, it's natural frames and light, and that's exactly as the interior design market at the moment see. What they add is warmth and colour, exactly as Alison said with the yellows and the pinks.
I would agree. I think that that square edge is current. And I think that the interior designers are just looking at other ways that they're using it. You know, they're using that really smart, straight, contemporary profile, and then maybe they're playing with the scale of the artwork and they're mounting things that are much bigger, or perhaps they're using that and they're putting multiples together in a gallery, or like we said with confetti, they're doing a gallery but they're doing the same profile in different widths together, or they're using the spaces to make that the depth within the frame deeper. So I think it's very much contemporary, but there's lots more to be done with it other than just the straight up moulding and mount.
I think as well, if I may, there's a comment that came up just a moment ago that said that photographers hate anything other than flat, black or white. And that's a very, very fair comment. But if you ask an artist, what would you frame your product in, they would definitely say flat, black and white. The reason being is their focus is on the subject. It's not outside of that. A framer's job and a designer's job is to enhance that subject. And for me, that is a classic answer for a photographer, because I took that photograph. Do not mess with it. Actually, a good framer, a good designer would spot that and say, we could really enhance that piece of photography. So it works in art as well. An artist ultimately shouldn't really frame their own artwork. I know it's a terrible thing to say, but a framer should advise on that. So yeah.
I think it also, just to chip in, it links into some of the things we were discussing in the first set of webinars as well, where it can be different with a photographic company where you're doing professional photography and you've got a big contract with them. But I guess the principle's no different to somebody who walks into your high street shop and is really after your advice as the expert. It's it's trying to, sometimes it's the skill of actually being able to influence them more subtly, or throwing in the curveball option to just get a response and gauge the reaction from them. And I guess the job of helping to do that is to try and encourage them to think a bit differently and use your advice as well. Some of those either subtle or not so subtle skills.
I can say as well, Matt, Alice, there's really almost every colour scheme is enhanced by 3 colours. And, Alison's, when you looked at your presentation, there are only 3 colours that are prominent at any given time, and sometimes it looks like it's 2 colours in a house, but the white of the ceiling adds that 3rd dimension. So most trends, what 3 colours have you got in the room that you're being asked to frame? You can almost match the artwork and the framing to that for a design point of view.
And I think it was really interesting what Matt was just saying, because we've got this comment saying that this gentleman's customers, maybe they're not ready for the pink and yellow. Well, maybe try it. Maybe offer. Maybe they just have never even thought that those colours would go with that artwork. I mean, maybe they wouldn't, only offer it if it's suitable. But actually, especially the paler tones and what have you, you might be surprised, or it might even just start a more interesting conversation rather than put down the things that you are real, regular choices.
I guess sometimes that bold colour takes you back a bit, and you get somewhere maybe in between the one they're thinking and the one the bold is at, and you get somewhere in the middle that it could just take you into a different area with them. And love people's reactions when you're showing them things, because that tells a story in itself, doesn't it?
Absolutely,
it does.
Cool, thank you. Love Maxwell's comment on us here as well, Steve. So since when did an artist know how to frame a picture, Steve? So
Absolutely, when.
And then probably the last sort of couple of ones that we've got are some questions just around sort of mood boards. So, you know, interesting presentation, but would we provide an updated mood board like the one in Alys's presentations? And probably on a similar theme is Maxwell just commenting about when we had a trend book, which you'll probably remember, I suppose, Steve.
Yeah, we did. So we did do a lot of trending, but I think Pinterest is almost taken that over. If you put in a subject like interior design and colours or many other things you can put in, Pinterest will throw up a lot of interior design ideas and thoughts and styles. So I think we could look at it again. Certainly, we could extract from some of our existing files for room settings and maybe create a mood board link to the website that people can go to. In fact, I think already on there is interior design room settings for any ideas if anybody wants.
Yeah, I think it's a good point. And listen, thanks for the feedback. You know, one of the things that we are doing is just, you know, we're going to take the opportunity over the next couple of months to look at the website. There is a lot of information on there and resources on the website that you can go and have a look and find access to. I think it's one thing that we'll probably take in, and we'll think about how we incorporate that into that, and maybe just make it a little bit easier for everybody out there to find access to resources and what might actually help you. So we'll take that away and work on it. Somebody asking if we'll provide a sale or return service for the bold mouldings. Yeah, listen, my suggestion would be to just give it a go with a small amount of product. We don't operate a sale and return service, but listen, just give it a go. We'll send you some samples if you want to, throw the samples out there to gauge some interest. And by all means, what I would say is just try a small amount of it.
Matt, the other idea then is if you don't want to commit to high levels of stock for a colour or an experimental range, you can use a chop service. So create your own a little display showing how bold you can be, but use the chop service so you have no excess stock. That's just an idea.
It's a great idea. Yeah, no wasted opportunity to try. It's a good point.
And both of these trends really will display really well. You can really pull together quite eye-catching trends, obviously with the sustainable trend, but obviously with the yellow and pink trend. That it's a great opportunity to use it for display.
Yeah. Okay, I think we pretty much covered all the questions that we had on here. So yeah, and we like I said to everybody, if you do join us tomorrow, then if you do want to ask a question live, you can put your hand up, and we're more than welcome to. I can video you in to do that, or absolutely fine to do it via Q&A like we have done today, and encourage you to keep up with the chat as well. So I'd just like to thank Steve for joining us to help answer some of the questions. Thank you as well, Alys.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for the insightful presentation, and thank everybody as well who has tuned in live to it. So as I said, we will get these and the presentation uploaded onto the website. So thanks a lot, and I will hopefully see all of you tomorrow. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you.